What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, the YWC Reality Check, and this is mostly your preview for WWE Clash at the Castle in Scotland 2024. So, before we get into this, there's going to be other stuff before we get to Clash at the Castle. Obviously, want to send a quick shout out to our buddy and my sometimes co-host, Jake DeMarco, was supposed to join me on the preview tonight. Not able to join us tonight because life's kicking him in the butt again. So please go find him on X at Countdown Ended. I don't know whether he can respond to people yet, but just show him some love. Tell him that we miss him. Hopefully, I'll get him on here sometime throughout the weekend. Now, with all the news of crossover, with us just coming off Battleground, with TNA being represented by Jordan Grace at Battleground, there's a lot of talk about crossover between WWE and TNA. Now, go back to this past week's episode of NXT, which was awesome, which beat Dynamite in the ratings. Oh yes, which had Cody getting the AEW Four Horsemen together in the back, which was awesome and sent all the very, very normal AEW fans into an absolute tizzy. The bigger piece of news coming out of that was that there's going to be a Battle Royal next week on NXT. This news was delivered by Cody to Trick Williams himself, and said the Battle Royal is going to be to determine the #1 contender to Trick's championship at Heatwave. Have I mentioned I'm going to Heatwave? I'm going to Heatwave, by the way. Heatwave is in Toronto, and I'm going to Heatwave. But it's going to determine Trick Williams' next #1 contender for the NXT Men's Championship, and that there would be familiar faces in the Battle Royal, and maybe some unfamiliar faces from other locker rooms, which means it's going to be an NXT-NA Battle Royal, and that's fantastic. That opens up all kinds of possibilities. I mean, the most direct route to go, they've just done the women's champions taking each other on. The next logical move would be the men's champions taking each other on, which would be Trick Williams versus Moose, or potentially somebody else that we're going to talk about in a second. But I mean, Trick Williams versus Moose, I wouldn't shake a stick at, but there's other people I would love to see doing that crossover. I would love, because it's in Toronto, my #1 choice, if he's even in the Battle Royal next week, my #1 choice would be the Walking Weapon, Josh Alexander. I think that would be fantastic. I think the pop he would get in Toronto would be amazing. Somebody else like a Speedball Mike Bailey, or one of the guys from ABC would be great. Somebody crazy like Crazy Steve would be awesome. It'll be weird if we have the ex-WWE guys representing TNA in NXT. You got your Mustafa Ali's, your Steve Maclin's, your Nick Nemeth's, obviously. But yeah, it's definitely going to be the next step in this whole crossover thing. And if you combine that with the fact that Heatwave is supposedly, barring her recovery from injury, it's going to be the debut of Julia. Now, is she taking on Kalani Jordan for her title, or is she taking on Roxanne Perez for her title? I don't know. It means already 1 week into the build, Heatwave already looks pretty good. And did I mention I'm going? Oh, yes. But it does sort of feed into the fact that on this Friday, as is going to be today when you guys are listening to this, I'm recording this on Thursday, but tonight, if you're able to listen to this before the pay-per-view, there's Against All Odds. TNA Against All Odds 2024. I'm going to briefly go over the card, but obviously there's one glaring match on here that I really want to tie into the Clash at the Castle stuff. In the pre-show, we got Sami Callihan. Yep. That's the kind of night I'm having. Sami Callihan taking on Jonathan Gresham. Now, Jonathan Gresham's not my guy. I get that he's a fantastic wrestler. Don't get me wrong. Jake and I talked about this on the last pod. He's just not a guy that gets it for me. And I haven't been watching week to week, as I always try to and always fail to, because something always falls off the schedule. But he's doing like this weird sort of masked monster thing, but he's going up against Sami Callihan, who's just a monster in general. Doesn't seem to be any stipulation to this match, which is fine. It's a pre-show match. I mean, Sami Callihan just made his return recently, and he's already on the kickoff. That's kind of shite. I'm going to go Sami Callihan for the win, because I like Sami Callihan, and Jonathan Gresham's kind of meh to me. This is a thing, just to me. It's just me. He's a great wrestler. He's got the skills, he's got the talent and all that. He's the octopus and all that kind of thing. He's just not for me. I've seen him wrestle live. He's good. I don't care. That's bad. Anyways, getting on to the proper show and proper Team Canada shit. Eric Young and Josh Alexander taking on the ABC are Ace Austin and Chris Bay. It's not for the tag titles. We're going to talk about that later on. There's a lot of tag team matches on this card, I'm just realizing, as I'm talking to you guys. But they're taking on ABC. Josh Alexander, Eric Young would be another cool, like, Team Canada thing. I've said, now that they're both in NXT, I've said I want Ethan Page and Shawn Spears to team up and sort of be like a Team Canada thing, go after the tag titles and whatever. Eric Young and Josh Alexander, if they want to come back to NXT as a tag team, let's fucking do that shit. But yeah, no, that being said, this will be great. Eric Young and Josh Alexander are fantastic wrestlers. ABC are great high flyers. Not entirely sure about the story going into this one, so I'm just going to let Destiny Bias take over, and I'm going to go with Josh Alexander and EY for the win. Steve Maclin and Mike Santana have been having ongoing issues with the Rascals, and they've decided, even though they both kind of want to be lone wolf characters, sort of a one-and-done tag team to, you know, sort of bitch slap the Rascals. Now, the more entertaining bit of this is Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz have a partner in NXT who's not having a good time right now. He's taking on Gallus. They tried to do it with Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, and they were left laying, shall we say. But if Wesley shows up on TNA in a backstage segment and says, hey guys, you know, we got something we need to talk about, and we get all the Rascals back together to take on Gallus at Heatwave, absolutely down for that. Now, looking at this match specifically, Santana and Steve Maclin are not a tag team, the Rascals are a tag team, and they've got schemy Healy means in their back pocket. They should win. Mustafa Ali versus Trent Seven. So, check it out, your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. The TNA X Division champion taking on the Destiny World champion. Oh yes, for the X Division championship, I like I say, I haven't been watching every week. I really like this faux political pantomime thing that Mustafa Ali's doing. Apparently, this is one of the ideas that he was trying to push through in WWE, and it never really got. Trent Seven's fantastic. Trent Seven makes everybody he works with look like $1 million. As I say, because I see him more at Destiny than I do on my television screen, I've had a chance to see a lot of Trent Seven in person recently. The guy's a fucking beast, and I'm kind of bummed that, I mean, we saw him in NXT UK, saw him a bit in NXT as well before he left. I mean, Tyler Bates doing well, Pete Dunne's doing well, Trent Seven is, he's doing well in other places, like Destiny and in TNA, but I wish I was more familiar with him earlier so I could appreciate him more. Am I going to go with this? Yeah, I am going to go with this. I like the Mustafa Ali character. I don't know how long he's staying in TNA. The rumor was that it was only for a short stint. So Trent Seven walking into the next Destiny show with a Destiny belt on one shoulder and an X Division championship on the other shoulder? Abso-fucking-lutely. But also, we were teased in Destiny, and yes, I'm taking this off in this direction. Mustafa Ali and El Diablo Gabriel Fuerza had a fantastic fucking match, and it was heavily hinted that the next time that they fought, it would be for that championship. So, kind of torn. Gonna go with Trent Seven on that one. The System. Oh, the System. I still don't get why they're a thing, but they're taking on Nick Nemeth and Ryan Nemeth, the Nemeth brothers, which is absolutely fine. Dolph Ziggler and his brother are going to have a match as a proper tag team. I think that's pretty cool. And on that alone, I want them to win. I want all the good things for Dolph Ziggler, because I appreciated the hell out of everything Dolph Ziggler did in WWE, and while he was given a lot, I will never say that, oh my god, they wasted him, they never gave him anything. I'm not going that far. But they should have given him more. They should have given him more. If people can make that argument for Mercedes Moné, I will make that. I will stand up on my pulpit and I will make that same exact argument for somebody like a Dolph Ziggler, who actually put other people over. Sorry, Sasha. It's fine. Haven't seen a lot of Ryan Nemeth. I know he was in AEW. He was doing like the Hollywood Hunk thing. at one point. Won't hold AEW against him, obviously. And, I mean, they're brothers, so the fact that they get to be together on a show and fight together as a team is pretty cool. It goes back to that John Cena, Miz, Maurice, Nikki Bella thing. Like, they got to wrestle with their partners as a team on a big show. That he gets to wrestle with his brother as a team on a big show. It's fine. It is what it is, but it's absolutely fine. I'm going to skip the match I've left for last. I'm going to go for Moose and Broken Matt Hardy for the TNA World Championship. I expect, some spooky Matt Hardy goodness, and a little bit of me thinks it would be incredibly banter for Broken Matt Hardy to show up in NXT as the TNA champion and face Trick Williams. I think that would be, excuse me, I think that would be really cool. I think Matt's at the part of his career now where he's going to just come in there, he's going to do his shtick, he's going to do the delete thing, and then Moose is going to kill him because he's got the system, even though the system doesn't really make sense at all. Now, the more intriguing thing, and, you got a lady in TNA who's making a lot of headlines recently. Oh, yeah, very, very good match with Roxanne Perez at Battleground. I thought the crossover was awesome. I thought the match was great. She lost an earring in the process and tore up her ear. It was kind of gross, but, it is what it is. Jordynne Grace is having an open challenge for the TNA Knockouts World Championship. So it's Jordynne Grace versus TBA. Now, a couple different things we can go here. If we go back to Battleground, you see her versus Roxanne Perez. The match was interrupted by Tatum Paxley from NXT, and that was counteracted by Ash by Elegance, aka Dana Brooke, coming out to get the belt back and all that kind of thing, and that ended up with the match being over. Now, there's a couple cool things that could go on here. And we're back. Not sure where I cut off there, but I was talking about Jordynne Grace's open challenge and who could answer it and all the fun nonsense that came out of Battleground. Now, the boring answer is somebody from the TNA roster answers it, and they have a good match. It's a good exhibition. Jordynne Grace kills them and continues to be awesome. Now, I don't want to say that in any kind of bad way. There are women on that roster that I would love to see have the title, but with the current rumors of all the crossover and all that kind of thing, the most immediate person to answer it would be Ash by Elegance, who comes out and says, look, I tried to help you while you were representing us at that NXT show. Show me some appreciation, give me a title shot. The next one up is Tatum Paxley shows up from NXT. Tatum Paxley's a mid-carder. She's not a current title holder in that company. She could come over and say, I saw your belt and I thought it was pretty because she's weird and spooky like that. And she can have a decent match. It'll be a different sort of challenge for Tatum Paxley, who's still relatively new to everything, and her losing to Jordynne Grace won't be any kind of bad thing. The next step up from that is Roxanne Perez shows up and says, hey, you came to my backyard and I beat you, but doesn't that make me the #1 contender for your title? Jordynne Grace can give her another great match. There can maybe be some more interference and she can get her win back. I suggest to you one other option, though, because there's somebody who's not in NXT, who's not in TNA, who's technically, or at least as we're being led to believe, not even in WWE right now. And I'm just going to say this, I'm just going to leave it, but if that open challenge is answered by Becky Lynch, that'll be the headline of the weekend. Like nothing that happens in Scotland, nothing that happens on the rest of that card will grab the headline like Becky Lynch showing up at TNA to fight for the Knockouts title. Now, do I think they're going to have Becky Lynch win the TNA title and bring it back to Raw or SmackDown? No, I think somebody in NXT holding it would be, or if they were going to win it, would be better, because I think the bridge for this crossover is NXT. But Becky Lynch showing up on a TNA show would be really, really cool. That's all I got. I mean, if she wasn't actually injured... Sorry, guys. If she wasn't actually injured, and we can get one step closer to the match that I really want, somewhere, at Slammiversary or at SummerSlam or running into each other again at next year's Royal Rumble, you gotta give me Rhea Ripley and Jordynne Grace somewhere. Anyways, like I say, boring answer, somebody from TNA answers. One step up from that, Ash by Elegance answers. One step up from that, Tatum Paxley answers. The probable one step up from that is Roxanne Perez, so they go title for title on TNA's show, and Jordynne Grace gets her win back. Outside shot that definitely isn't happening, but I would pop my nuts off for. Becky Lynch versus Jordynne Grace ain't gonna hurt anybody's feelings, is it? Now, that's Friday. That's tonight, if you're listening to this. Let's go over to Clash at the Castle, which is happening Saturday afternoon, if you live in my neck of the woods. It's a short card. I'm really gonna stick to my thought that Triple H took the criticism a little too literally about pay-per-view cards being too long. 5 matches for a country that has never hosted a pay-per-view before ain't anything. Ain't anything. Now, I want to get this one out of the way first because there's a little bit of a sadness attached to it. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill defending the tag team titles against Alba Fire, Isla Dawn, Shayna Baszler, and Zoe Stark. Now, the news over the past couple of days has been that Alba Fire's mom was visiting her in America and was killed in a car accident, which is terrible, which is unthinkable, and should not even be really conversed in a wrestling context, but I'm going to try and be nice about all this. If Alba Fire and Isla Dawn pull out of this match and it's a Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, fine, cool. Things bigger than wrestling definitely happening here. Granted, it's in Scotland and it's in their home country, and maybe it's just what she needs. I don't know. I don't want to speak for her in a traumatic period of time. But if they're pulled out of this match last minute and anybody bitches about that, then you're a terrible person and you deserve whatever life has to give you. Now, the other side of the coin is people saying, oh, that's really, really terrible. Maybe she can win on Sunday or on Saturday for her mum. Which is a very heartfelt and very real feeling, sympathetic take. I don't think you want to do that, because I don't think this team that has never really been featured on TV and is now all of a sudden getting featured on TV because they're in Scotland wants to be portrayed any more like a charity case. And I say that because I like Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. I want them to get a title shot or a proper title win when they've been on TV enough for more people to enjoy that win. I don't want it to be I don't want the titles to be handed over to them like a sympathy card, if that makes any sense at all. If that makes me seem crass, then whatever. Before the sad news came down, I could have told you with my eyes closed, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill are going to squash all 4 of them, but that seems a bit crass in the light of the current news. I was hoping Shayna Baszler was going to hang out and have a longer run in NXT after the match that she had with Lola Vice in NXT Underground at Battleground, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. I'm sure the match will be fine. Jade Cargill's great. Bianca Belair is also there. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, who've gotten very, very little spotlight on the main roster, if they are still participating in this match, I'm sure will want to show up and show out and make sure that they get featured more on television. But as I say, they've got more serious life stuff hanging on their shoulders. And Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark are just solid badasses that deserve more, but I've been saying that since Shayna Baszler came to the main roster. Put a gun to my head, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill are going to retain. Sami Zayn and Chad Gable for the Intercontinental Championship. It's going to be a great match. There's going to be a lot of melodrama between Chad and the rest of the Alpha Academy. Is this where they finally turn and walk away? I don't know. Does Otis cost Sami the title again? I don't know. Does Chad Gable win because of Otis? I don't really want that, because I want Chad Gable to win something when he wins something. I don't know what you do with these characters once you break them away from Chad Gable. Like, you're going to have a one-off match where Otis gets to squash Chad Gable in like a big like revenge porn type match. But after that, Otis Akira Tozawa and Maxine Dupree really do look like they're going to be tossed on the island of misfit toys. So be careful what you wish for, but also Chad Gable is rumored to be linking up with the Creed brothers to form a more massive, like, dickhead, jock, heel energy team, which, as I've said before, because of the friendship between Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree, there's a couple of cool stories to tell there, but then, once again, Otis and Akira Tozawa go back to being comedy characters in the back, and I don't know. So the bigger problem here is Sami Zayn's having a good run. Sami Zayn playing like this moral, like, I just want everybody to be okay character, like, you know, trying to pull it out of Otis, trying to pull it out of Akira Tozawa, trying to be there for Maxine Dupree, and in the meantime, trying to revel in this Intercontinental Championship that he ripped off the shoulder of Gunther. There's a lot going on with Sami Zayn, and I don't really want that to come to an end, but Chad Gable can't take another loss to Sami Zayn, or else his heel turn starts being really, really useless. I'll say a schmoz finish, and then they have some kind of stepped up match at Money in the Bank, and not just because I'm going, and I'm going to keep that joke going as well. They'll have a schmoz, Otis will get involved, and like maybe Otis is tired of both of them and decks both of them, and it's a double count out, or something like that. In the meantime, between now and Money in the Bank, you can have Chad Gable have his one or two matches with Otis, or like Otis and Akira Tozawa get a tag team or a handicap match against Chad Gable, something to that effect. You get that done and dusted and out of the way, and Chad Gable says, "All right, one more time, you and me, Sami Zayn, in a last person standing match," or something of that description at Money in the Bank, because while this is a cool international show, Clash at the Castle is still a B show, and we know that they've tried to make Money in the Bank the 5th big pay-per-view. If you've been watching wrestling long enough, you remember when the big 5 were WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and King of the Ring. Now, King of the Ring has come back, but it's not what it used to be. So the big 5 went to the big 4. Now the big 5, again, as a lot of people look at it these days, includes Money in the Bank. So a bigger stage, back on home turf. Home turf for Chad Gable, and home continent, at least, for Sami Zayn, in some kind of weird, like whether they want to go the wrestling route and make it like a submission match, or like a grappling rules match, or if Tony D wants to loan them the Heritage Cup for a night and they want to have a rounds match, something like that. Something that really says we're proving who the better wrestler is for this wrestling title, because the Intercontinental Championship has always been the workman's title. Something like that. I predict a schmoz, and I want them to prove me wrong, but there's bad sides to Sami Zayn winning, and there's bad things for Chad Gable if Sami wins, and there's bad things for the whole Chad Gable stable if Chad Gable wins. So I want them to pick a bad decision and prove me wrong. Is that fair? Maybe that's not fair. I don't know. Tell me down in the box below, or hit me up on X at Spaz Phoenix. Bayley versus Piper Niven. This is nice, isn't it? Piper Niven's from Scotland, so she's going to get a hometown pop, and Bayley's going to beat her. If Piper Niven, again, this is very much like the Alba Fire Isla Dawn thing. I would love Piper Niven to be champion, but I would love Piper Niven to be given a championship reign off of a build that people are invested in, off of her being featured as a singles person on TV more, and not just, hey, we're in this part of the world today. The promo that everybody's talking about that she cut last week on SmackDown was fantastic. The promo that she's going to cut tonight on SmackDown, being in Scotland, will probably be amazing. I think they're going to give her a hell of a match. I think with her being involved with Chelsea Green and being the heavy for Chelsea Green, you need something like this. You need a Bayley match to remind the world that you're a badass. Now, I didn't see Viper before she came to NXT, but I did see Piper Niven come to the Mae Young Classic, come to NXT UK, come to NXT, and squash people. And I don't mean squash, oh, she's a bigger girl, so of course she squashed people. Like, don't be a dickhead. But, like, she had a 3-way feud with Rhea Ripley and Toni Storm and didn't look a lick out of place on a brand that nobody was watching, which was kind of shit. I want to see a bit of that. I mean, Bayley, go back to early days NXT and the rivalry that Bayley had with Nia Jax, and look at what you have to work with Nia Jax. Piper Niven is the opposite. Piper Niven should be in the Nia Jax spot right now, if you want my honest to God opinion. But Bayley's going to give her a hell of a match. Piper Niven is going to play the role of a big mountain to climb. She's going to get the pop, but also over in that part of the world, Bailey is really, really popular too. So we're gonna get that, hey Bailey, ooh, ah, we're gonna get that as well. It's absolutely fine. But again, I hate to keep saying this. Oh, isn't that cute? We gave all the Scottish people some spotlight for the night. Like, it's really nice if you want to see it as really nice, but if you want to flip that coin over just a little bit, it's a really condescending way to book the show as well. Now, Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles, I Quit match for the Undisputed Championship. AJ Styles did the Mark Henry fake quitting thing. I got a lot left in the tank, etc., etc., etc. I'm kind of glad that they're doing this now. If they wanted to do a rematch with AJ Styles, do it now, because you had 3 weeks. You weren't going to build up a brand new contender for Cody Rhodes in 3 weeks. So revisit this one more time. A lot of people liked Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles more than I did. That's not to say that I didn't like the match. I just didn't see this big, oh my god, this is the game changer for 2024 in WWE. I didn't see that. I saw that in other places, quite frankly. Doesn't mean AJ Styles isn't great. Doesn't mean Cody Rhodes isn't, Cody Rhodes. An I Quit match, solely on the back of the fact that that Cody did the fake retirement thing. I guess it's a little bit of a gotcha, but it's also a really cool way to shoehorn in a more violent challenge. As I say, if it wasn't in Scotland, and if the main event wasn't the main event, this would be the main event. I don't know how they're going to work this. I don't know how they're going to make AJ Styles say I quit. I don't think they're taking the belt off Cody Rhodes. It is what it is. It is what it is. I had a thought when Cody Rhodes showed up in NXT and was hanging out with all his friends from AEW, and oh my god, it was such a dig at AEW. No, it was Cody Rhodes hanging out with his friends saying they were in a good place. Of course he's going to say they're in a good place. They're in the place that his dad helped create. You morons. You absolute morons. But I mean, he's hanging out with all these heels. Yeah, Cody Rhodes is a heel. Maybe when Roman Reigns comes back and gets the babyface reaction that he's going to get, can you imagine Cody Rhodes doing a little bit of a, I don't know, a little bit of a Bianca Belair, a little bit of a Drew McIntyre, in the sense of, how can you like these guys? They're back now, but don't you remember all the things that they did? Cody Rhodes could pull that off pretty well, and we could have a gigantic pivot, because this Bloodline 2.0 that they're doing right now, and they've got Paul Heyman by the nose, and everything they're doing with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, and apparently Hikuleo and Jacob Fatu are coming in as well. Everything that they're doing is by orders of the Tribal Chief. Now, the Tribal Chief was Roman Reigns, but it's clearly not Roman Reigns anymore. The Tribal Chief could be The Rock, obviously. The Tribal Chief could be Solo Sikoa, referring to himself. But what if, and yes, you guys are going to think I'm crazy, it's fine, but what if the Tribal Chief that Solo and Tama and Tonga and Jacob and Hikuleo are referring to is Cody Rhodes? And what if the Bloodline 2.0 is his grand revenge scheme against Roman Reigns, against the Usos, against Sami Zayn, against the OG Bloodline for what happened at WrestleMania 39? There is your War Games match. Bloodline 2.0 headed up by Cody Rhodes versus the original Bloodline, Roman, Jay, Jimmy, Sammy, maybe throw KO in the mix. Don't say it couldn't happen, because we said we were never going to get a heel Roman Reigns. The only one we never got was heel John Cena. The closest we got to heel John Cena was him in the Firefly Funhouse match, dressed as an NWO member, which you can play in the game now, which is really, really weird. That's my pitch to you guys. What if the leader of Bloodline 2.0 is Cody Rhodes? Just saying. Just saying. Just something to think about. Just something to percolate on. Now, let's talk about this main event. Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest. Again, Drew McIntyre is the one that this show is going to be built around because he's another guy from Scotland. He had to pretend that Wales was his home country a couple years ago. Last time they did Clash at the Castle, he was fucked over by Roman Reigns. He's been waiting all this time. He was the champion when everybody else was gone, when COVID was going on, and all these things that he's saying that are absolutely true, by the way. He's the only Scottish guy on the card in Scotland that doesn't feel like he's there just because he's Scottish, but also it's awesome because he's Scottish. Taking on Damian Priest, because so much of the story is about Drew McIntyre, and when Damian Priest first won the title, so much of that story was about Drew McIntyre and CM Punk and Seth Rollins, and he was like the footnote almost. I really feel bad for Damian Priest because I like Damian Priest as champion. I like Damian Priest before he was champion. I like the Judgment Day. This is not a surprise to anybody. Damian Priest has to fight to be in the story of the match that's for his title, and that's not ideal. I think Drew McIntyre's taken this, but there's a lot of outside stuff. There's a lot of outside stuff here. And they all sort of weave into each other, but at the same time I want to hit on them each individually. On Raw, we determined that the Judgment Day would be banned from ringside because Drew McIntyre defeated Finn Balor. So, Judgment Day, who are tweeners, against Drew, who's kind of an asshole. So Damian Priest goes in as the babyface because he's not allowed to have help. Now, does that mean that they won't help? Are they going to come and help anyway? Sure. Does that include a distraction from Liv Morgan? Maybe. Does that tease an early return of Rhea Ripley? Maybe. Does that cause dissension in the Judgment Day that costs Damian Priest the match? Maybe. Another thing that happened on Raw was a conversation in the back between Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. Now, Sheamus is a babyface. Sheamus just came back. Sheamus has, in the past, been in Drew McIntyre's face being like, what the hell are you doing? Like, this is not the guy I went to the pub with and had a drink and a fight with, and, you know, CM Punk's rotting your brain away and all that kind of thing. So there's an alliance between the two of them, or at least a friendship between the two of them that works, even though Sheamus is a face and Drew is a heel. So does Sheamus come down to help Drew, knowing that the Judgment Day can't be there, or at least the rule is, do we get a Sheamus heel turn? Does Sheamus help his buddy finally achieve his dream? And Sheamus can look at it from a positive end of things. Sheamus can look at it as, yeah, my buddy was holding up this company when COVID was there, and he had to win that title in front of nobody, and that really sucks, and I feel like my buddy was really underappreciated. My buddy got screwed over at the last Clash at the Castle because of what the Judgment Day did. He got screwed over at WrestleMania because of the cash-in and CM Punk's interference and all that sort of thing. So he can be the good guy that says, I understand why he's doing what he's doing. I understand why he's mad, and I'm going to support him anyway, even though he's not doing the right thing. There's a way to make that work where Sheamus is still the good guy, even though he's helping the bad guy. There's a really cool story to tell if they want to. Now, the other thing, if Sheamus isn't going to back up Drew, there's 3 other surly boys down in NXT that are also from Scotland. And I know you're not supposed to mention them because people like to pretend that they're not awesome. No, the rumor is for a long time now that Gallus is going to get called up to the main roster, and they're going to kind of be goons for Drew McIntyre. Now, if Drew McIntyre has Gallus in his corner, and you get a full-on like War Games type of thing between Drew McIntyre, Gallus, and the Judgment Day, that's fine, that's cool. It leads to a larger thing that I personally want to see, where it's Imperium, Ilya Dragunov, and Chad Gable taking on Gallus, Drew McIntyre, and Noam Dar in a War Games match. But that's not going to happen for a long time. I think there's a lot you can do with Drew having an army behind him, because he's been screwed over by all these other groups. he got screwed over by the Judgment Day. I think he's even, like, I think Alpha Academy even fucked with him for a little bit when Chad Gable was just first starting to sort of feel himself. He was definitely screwed over by the Bloodline, and I could see us, again, a story that very much works, where it's, you know, if you can't beat them, join them. Everybody else has a gang behind them, I'll get a gang behind me. You know, I'll go back home and get me some boys, as they say. Now, do you throw Noam Dar into that? Probably not, because Noam Dar's still in the metaphor banter. But, and he's also injured right now because he got his ass kicked as part of the introduction of Ethan Page. Hey, full circle, there we go. So, Judgment Day are banned, but are they? Sheamus is Drew's friend, but he's a good guy. But is he? Gallus is going to debut. Maybe. The thing hanging over this match, even if nobody gets involved, the winner of this match has to worry about SummerSlam, 2 pay-per-views from now, because Gunther gets a shot at the world title at SummerSlam. So it's a straight shot for either Damian Priest or Drew McIntyre to SummerSlam. That's something to think about. But here we go. What did I just say? The winner of this has to worry about Gunther. Or do they? Because in the middle, you've got Money in the Bank. Now, let's just say, because I think it should be, let's just say that the Money in the Bank winner is Jey Uso. Now, what you've got between now and SummerSlam is, does Gunther face Damian Priest? Maybe. I'd like to see that. I bet that would be interesting. Does Gunther revisit his issues with Drew McIntyre? Because we know they had the trios match, or the triple threat match, or whatever you want to call it, with Sheamus involved a couple years ago. That would be fine. But you know what? You know what would be really good? Be Jey Uso cashing in. And he goes on to SummerSlam to face Gunther, because they've got unfinished business as well. Gunther's waiting at the end. It's not the champion waiting at the end of the tunnel anymore. It's the determined challenger from King of the Ring, Gunther, who is playing end-of-level boss. Because whoever wins this, whether it's Priest, whether it's Drew, whether it's somebody else that gets a title shot at Money in the Bank, or whether it's the Money in the Bank holder themselves, the final boss at the head of the table, no pun intended, at the end of the line, the dark light at the end of the tunnel is Gunther, which makes him the end of level video game boss. And the last fly in the ointment, specifically for Drew McIntyre, is CM Punk. Because here's the thing. If CM Punk costs Drew McIntyre, then both of them can be pissed at him, which is kind of cool. Both of them could be pissed at CM Punk, because Damian Priest, even though he's still in a heel faction, wants to do the title shit on his own, wants to leave the boys in the back, so to speak. You know, kind of like what Hogan did at WrestleMania 18. Did I mention I was there too? It was fine. That was back when you were allowed to like Hulk Hogan. Oh wait, you still are allowed to like Hulk Hogan. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But even though he was the heel, he left his boys in the back because he wanted to face The Rock one-on-one. Damian Priest has kind of been doing that. Like, he's been babysitting the Judgment Day in the absence of Rhea Ripley, but it's like, no, let me go do my shit. So if CM Punk gets involved in this match in any way, and it's any kind of schmoz, you're taking the glory away from Priest, you're taking the title shot away from Drew. They both get mad. They're both pissed at CM Punk. They potentially get a rematch at Money in the Bank. And we do with CM Punk what we normally do with the women in Money in the Bank and have the same day cash in. You have CM Punk put his hands up in the air and says, I'm not going to get involved, you guys. I would never interfere with your one-on-one match. CM Punk wins Money in the Bank. The main event is the rematch of Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, and before the match can start, out comes CM Punk. And he says, yeah, I'm a man of my word. I would never interrupt your one-on-one match. Unfortunately, this is no longer a one-on-one match because I'm cashing in my Money in the Bank match right stat now. This is now a triple threat match, and the two of them being so pissed off at CM Punk, they take each other out. CM Punk becomes the champion. CM Punk is the one that goes on to SummerSlam to defeat the challenger And I don't care that my recording just cut out for the second time. CM Punk wins Money in the Bank, beats these two goofs at their own game, goes on to defeat Gunther at SummerSlam, goes to WrestleMania to give us the match that AEW could never give us. CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes in the main event of WrestleMania. That's what we could have this evening. We could have that. We're probably not going to, because the world doesn't like me that much, but we could have that. Anyways, it's going to be a good time in Scotland in any event, so let me know what you guys think about that down in the box below. If you're watching TNA, let me know what you think about that in the box down below as well. Who do you think is going to be the mystery challenger for Jordynne Grace? Are we going to get any big surprises at Clash at the Castle? Are we going to get more members of the Bloodline 2.0 announced? Because that's the other thing that's going on. And then by the time we get to next Monday, we'll probably be talking about the Wyatt 6. Anyways, sorry for the cuts. Sorry for all the weird editing things that are probably going to be in this pod. I know it's probably not the greatest thing I've put out in a while, but I'm dealing with what I got at the moment. Anyways, I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am checking it.